Hello everyone, I'm Bottles and welcome to Releasing the Unreleased. Unreleased games have always fascinated me to my core. Not only do I find the concept of an abandoned project for a very popular franchise super interesting, but I also always think about how the franchise would have been affected if these games were to be released. I'm going to start off our series proper by going into as many unreleased Sonic games as I can, speculating how it would have affected future Sonic canon if these games were to be released. Today we'll be talking about a game that may or may not have even existed, Sonic Jr. Sonic Jr. would have been a game on the Sega Pico that would have starred a younger version of Sonic. This would have followed in the same vein of a series of Sega video games made for kids. This started with a game called Echo Jr. Echo Jr. was a video game in the Echo the Dolphin series that was aimed towards younger players since they wanted to introduce more kids into the gaming market with games that weren't as hard as the previous two Echo games. It can be determined that the same would have been done with Sonic. Make a version of the game meant for younger audiences. Where I get confused with this is reportedly, this game would have been for the Sega Pico. For those of you who missed out on the Sega Pico, the way the Sega Pico worked is that the games were actually books that you would plug into the console. Turning the pages would change the level of the game and the activity you would do. You would then use a pen to control the games. The most modern thing I can think of that compares to this would be the Wii U, but with books instead of a screen. As someone who was fortunate enough to have a Sega Pico as a child, this was really fun. I remember playing a Busy Town game and a Mickey Mouse game on it all the time. Most of these games are educational puzzle games though, not a 2D platformer? So it's kinda confusing to see that there would be a 2D platformer on a book and pen based game console? It could have been an educational game like Sonic the Hedgehog's Game World or Tales in the Music Maker. It's so weird to say, especially since there's no gameplay or reports about this game whatsoever. This leads me to... The topic of this game is very interesting to talk about on this show because it may not have even existed in the first place. There is some speculation on why this game was cancelled. The first theory being that since it was announced along with Echo Jr., that when Echo Jr. didn't do so well sales-wise, they cancelled all planned Junior games. The second theory of why this game was cancelled is that this game was never meant to exist at all. Announcing a Sonic version of Echo Jr. may have just been a publicity stunt by Sega to try to drum up some interest in the title. If people were interested in the title, they probably would have greenlit it forward. But since no one cared and just thought it was strange, they just never started. It certainly is interesting though. The only hint towards this game's existence was an announcement made by Sega themselves. No magazine, no website, no one covered it at the time of its supposed development. A tiny idea that may have just been spewed out by an executive created this strange part of Sonic's history. That's why I love cancelled games so much. Now, this is a game that I can say might have affected Sonic canon slightly. Judging by the name Sonic Jr., we can infer that this game would have included one of two things. Either it would have had Sonic's son, or a younger version of Sonic. If it starred Sonic's son, we would have been shown a canonical future for Sonic where he had a kid, and the adventures he would end up going on. Would he be fighting Robotnik still? Would he be fighting Robotnik's kid? Who knows? Hell, we could maybe even see who Sonic Jr.'s mom could have been. If it's a younger version of Sonic, we could get some sort of look at Sonic's childhood years and the adventurous shenanigans Sonic would have gotten into back then. Kinda funny to think about how we've never gotten anything about Sonic's past whatsoever. Almost like he just blipped into existence in the events of Sonic 1 and had no existence before that whatsoever. Either way, it would have been very interesting to see a glimpse into either Sonic's past or future. That concludes this episode of Releasing the Unreleased. What did you guys think? Are there games that you want me to cover that have never come out? Put your suggestions in the comments below and let's learn about the wonderfully weird world of cancelled games together. If you want to see the next episode of the series, tune in next week, but if you're impatient, become a channel member to be able to watch the episode right now. Our social media are in the description below, as well as our merch store, and make sure to support the channel as much as you can. The more you support, the more I can eat. With that, I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.